Things are getting really dark, really fast in this country. The rhetoric online has become just absolutely psychotic. On the right, Trump supporters, conservatives in general, are being purged in massive numbers. And as they flee these platforms and head to Parler, among other platforms, big tech companies do what they've always done and seek to destroy their competition. Now, I don't know exactly why many of these right-wing individuals are being banned, but there's estimates of like 60,000. I'm not sure if that's true, but many people have reported losing tens of thousands of followers on Twitter as users seem to be mass purged. Some have speculated that the numbers are going down because people are quitting the platform in response to Donald Trump being banned. And I think that's fair to say. You know, a lot of Trump supporters said they're only on there for Trump. Before Trump signed up, Twitter was doing really bad. I should say before Trump was, basically on the track to be president, Twitter was doing really bad. And then once Trump became particularly prominent and was using Twitter for political purposes, Twitter started to do better. Now it makes sense that they're going to lose a lot of users. However, we are seeing from a lot of people, they are saying they are being banned. A lot of people. Here's a tweet from People for Bernie, a verified Twitter account. You're either Antifa or pro-fascism. There is no middle ground. The question today isn't which side are you on. That question has already been answered. We know who sided with fascism. Don't let them escape it. Tweets like this do not exist in the mainstream right for the most part. I mean, I'm not going to speak in, absolutes, but this is the People for Bernie account. It's like Bernie's campaign account. Tweeting, sides are drawn, we know who you are, and you will not escape. On the right, you have a lot of people being banned typically for arbitrary things, saying like learn to code. That was a very famous moment. Many people, in one instance, Zuby, the rapper, said, okay, dude, and received a suspension. Now, on Parler, there are a lot of people on the right who have lost their minds as far as I'm concerned. Lynn Wood has been crazy for some time. That dude is off the he's lost it. He's off the plot. And I guess the difference is Twitter is quickly becoming the left-wing version of, it's not a one-for-one comparison. Twitter is being dominated by the left every single day, and they're advocating for serious political extremism. My friends, we now have one of the most dramatic escalations once again. As Parler becomes the choice of those who have been deplatformed, Amazon has announced they are shutting down web hosting services for Parler. This is their end. Parler is being essentially cut off from their access to their databases, which means at some point tonight, I believe by midnight, by 12 a.m. tomorrow, or some people have said noon, I'm not entirely sure, Parler just won't work. It's gone. BuzzFeed News reports Amazon's suspension of Parler's account means that unless it can find another host, once the ban takes effect on Sunday, Parler will go offline. Amazon notified Parler that it would be cutting off the social network favored by conservatives and extremists from its cloud hosting service, Amazon Web Services, according to an email obtained by BuzzFeed News. The suspension, which will go into effect on Sunday just before midnight, means that Parler will be unable to operate and will go offline unless it can find another hosting service. Now, the reason for the removal, it's people like Lynn Wood who's saying insane things. He's advocating for insane things, and I believe that in many circumstances, the posts put up by a lot of these people we see are imminent threats and absolutely, for legal reasons, must be removed. Some states have very strict, legal laws on when you remove things, like a true threat versus imminent threat. The issue is Twitter is loaded with these as well. So you don't see people taking screenshots from Twitter and then going nuts in the media saying ban Twitter. Why? Journalists love Twitter. They use Twitter. It's their platform. So they're not going to be writing about all of the insane psychobabble on Twitter. It's an interesting thing. We had Bill Ottman from Minds, the Minds.com, Minds.com. It's another non-big three social platform. And he was saying that they were actually banned from the Google Play Store as well for some explicit images. And so one day he just reached out to Google and said, you realize Twitter has full-blown porn on it, don't you? And then, yes, sure enough, they got reinstated. But let's read more. They say people on Parler used the social network to stoke fear, spread hate, and coordinate the insurrection at the Capitol building on Wednesday. The app has recently been overrun with death threats, celebrations of violence, and posts encouraging patriots to march on D.C. with weapons on January 19th, the day before the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden, which is horrifying, psychotic. And yeah, people shouldn't be allowed to advocate for armed insurrection. That's a crime. What about Black Lives Matter? Can we ban Twitter? I just hate Twitter so much. No, I don't want Twitter banned. I don't want Parler banned. I think the law should be enforced. And I think there are interesting questions about whether or not Parler can handle heavy moderation of people saying insane things. But what about Twitter? They did the exact same things, and they call themselves the free speech wing of the free speech party. Yet here we are. It's insane. In an email obtained by BuzzFeed News, an AWS trust and safety team told Parler Chief Policy Officer Amy Pykoff that that the calls for violence propagating across the social network violated its terms of service. Amazon said it was unconvinced that the service's plan to use volunteers to moderate calls for violence and hate speech would be effective. That's it. So them saying they will moderate, okay, guys, we will do it. They said, it's not going to work anyway. Nuke. That's where we're headed. What do you think is going to happen to all these angry people? Do you think they just stop being angry? Do you think the grievances they have watching TV? You think they're only learning this stuff from social media? Now, I'll tell you, look, people who are organizing violence and riots shouldn't be allowed to do so. It's a crime or insurrection, whatever you want to call it. But on the left, they're still doing it. They're still issuing veiled threats and death threats. They did it with Covington. These people weren't banned. So you see where we're going. Do you think regular people who are being nuked are just going to stop being angry when they see the people go on TV and advocate for their destruction? Now you have CNN saying that cable providers should ban Fox News, OAN, and Newsmax. And then what? These people will just continue to be angry. There's a lot of freaky stuff going on. It's not just this. But let me show you something. Ro Khanna. Parler is hosted by Amazon Web Services. Amazon should deny Parler services until January 21st unless they commit to removing all posts related to incitement of violence concerning inauguration. This will help prevent further violence and save lives. Interesting. This was 2 days ago. Ro Khanna, congressman, said Amazon should remove Parler. A day later, they are. Permanently. A little bit more than what Ro Khanna asked for. But Ro Khanna asked Parler to do something they probably can't even do. Apparently, the feds don't want any of these posts removed. Now you see the conundrum. The FBI is telling social media companies they have to keep these posts up because they're investigating. If Parler were to go and remove them, that could put them in legal jeopardy. Or just it would make them defy the feds. It's an untenable situation. Either you remove it or we ban you, but also don't remove it because then you're helping these people and we want to investigate. So which is it? Neither. You can't do anything. The only end result is going to be Parler gets nuked. John Matz, who is I believe he's one of the co-founders of Parler, said, Sunday at midnight, Amazon will be shutting off all of our servers in an attempt to completely remove free speech off the internet. There is the possibility Parler will be unavailable on the internet for up to a week as we rebuild from scratch. We prepared for events like this by never relying on Amazon's proprietary infrastructure and building bare metal products. We will try our best to move to a new provider right now, as we have many competing for our business. However, Amazon, Google, and Apple purposefully did this as a coordinated effort, knowing our options would be limited and knowing this would inflict the most damage right as President Trump was banned from the tech companies. This was a coordinated attack by the tech giants to kill competition in the marketplace. We were too successful too fast. You can expect the war on competition and free speech to continue, but don't count us out. John Metz says, we are the closest thing to competition Facebook or Twitter has seen in many years. I believe Amazon, Google, Apple work together to try and ensure they don't have competition. They will not win. We are the world's last hope for free speech and free information. What they are doing is unprecedented, unfounded, and absolutely disgusting, shameful. This is a battle against all of us, liberals, conservatives, atheists, Christians, black, white, etc. They want to keep their monopoly over speech. They want us fighting. They don't want us working together. They don't want us working with each other. They want us hating one another. Parler, he's calling it Parler, brings two people with conflicting ideas together. Our mission is free speech. democracy, and us, the people, having the power. The elite don't want us to be free. They want hate, division, and power. I actually think so. I want to show you a tweet. I want to show you that I think John's correct. I do. Jack Dorsey, he tweeted this, a heart. And it says, top charts, Signal, private messenger, #1 with the heart. Signal's great. It really is. And I think you should use it. And I think the people who founded Signal, I've talked to them before. They seem all right. I don't know where their ideology stands now. But I think it's absolutely evil that Jack is tweeting this out, because the only reason that Signal is #1 was because these companies nuked Parler. Signal only hit #1 because Apple, in concert with other big tech companies, nuked their competition. Parler was #1. You remove that, and now Signal's #1. So I can respect Jack for giving props to Signal for sure. But I think it's insane that he's glossing over the nightmarish dystopian reality that just occurred to make this happen. Maybe evil is a little strong, but I think things are getting, man, just really, really bad. There's dark talk happening right now. Dark stuff coming. I don't know. Parler's getting the nuke. They may be able to recover. Gab has done something interesting. Now, Gab is similar to Parler. Gab has created their own web hosting service. Gab is now creating their own cell phones. So maybe there is a light at the end of this tunnel in that this will bring about true competition. My concern, however, is that what we will end up really getting is parallel economies and communications, which, of course, I suppose will only lead to some kind of civil war. I'm going to keep this segment short. I normally keep these videos longer, but I've got a bunch of stories that I'll go through, and, I'm thinking of lightening the load on weekends and just doing less and less content and putting more focus on Timcast IRL just because of how insane things are getting. And we're getting to the point where very serious conversations are starting to happen. And I'm not kidding. I'm looking at history. I'm reading about, what's going on with Parler, the lucrative merger of corporation and state. That state actors, the Democrats, are calling for the removal of their political rivals and any platform that dare allow them to speak. I understand that, there's a lot of crazy Q people saying a lot of crazy things, but they've been purging outright conservative voices just because they're bombastic, I suppose. They are purging and have been purging their political rivals for some time, and now it's ramped up to an extreme degree. Corporations are aiding the Democratic Party in the removal of their rivals. If you take a look at the following, if you go to like Social Blade and look at the followers of, say, a list of Republicans, and then pull up a list of Democrats, the Democrats are gaining massive amounts of followers and the Republicans are losing massive amounts of followers. They are tilting the scales on purpose. So where do you think that all leads to? First, they start by saying anybody who is at the Capitol, storming the building should be arrested. And you know what? If you stormed into that building, yeah, you probably should. There's a problem, and the reason I say probably is that some of these people were bewildered and just bumbling around and were let in. Some of these people were absolutely insane, it appears. I think so. And some of these people just walked up and the doors were open and the cops were like, well, I disagree with what you're saying, but I agree with your right to protest. There's a video of this. They opened the door to let people walk in. These people had no idea what was going on. Some of them did. Many of them didn't. There's that photo of that bumbling old grandma waving her little American flag. That's not an insurrectionist. She's just a confused, bewildered old lady who has no idea what's happening. And I'm sure a lot of people just thought it's the Capitol building. Like the Senate buildings, you can just walk into. It's public, and they say that. Well, it's public. Anyone can come in. It's owned by the public. It's for the public. That's not true for many, buildings like the Capitol building and the White House for obvious reasons. Well, these people many of them are going to get arrested. The FBI is already going and rounding up people who are inside the building. Many of them have apologized. Now they're calling for anybody who facilitated the event. So we've seen Walk Away, Brennan Strock's organization, purged from Facebook. You'll see where this goes. Next, they'll say anyone who financed, anyone who supported, anyone who incited, and then anyone who defended. And that's the dark place I think we're all heading towards. Well, I guess I'll leave it there. I'll keep this one short, but I will have some more segments coming up. I'll just do more segments today, but they'll be shorter. So the next segments will be coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.